You know, this is the second episode of the second half of the second season, but to me,
I'm lost already.
It feels like the debut because this is the first one that we have. The original team reassembled. I'm Kevin.
I'm Jamie.
That's Jamie, and...
How's it going, guys? Dave's back.
He's here.
Dave is back and live. We had someone tweet at us, and if you would like to tweet at us, please do at A Million Podcast on Twitter, A Million Little Podcast on Instagram. But someone tweeted at us that they wanted Dave back already, which I get, I understand. They said...
Same.
Yeah. Let me see. Hang on one second. There was well, it'll take me too long to find. But trust me when I say someone said they wanted Dave back, and they hashtag Queen Jamie. Did you see this?
No.
Did you make a reference to being a queen of any kind?
Did I?
It's a great question.
Maybe.
I didn't know that you did. There was no reference to me, which I won't take personal. But yeah, Dave, how's it going in Chicago?
You know, things are good. I can't complain. It's January 30th, Thursday, January 30th, as we record. I can't believe it's been 1+ month since Christmas. That's crazy. No, I mean, it just is. Time's flying by. Basically, it's baseball season. I wonder if the Queen thing is when I might have done this on an episode, me singing Welcome to the Queendom. Oh, maybe.
You definitely sang Welcome to the Queen. I mean,
it's very possible I said something. We had to record the first episode twice, so at this point, I have absolutely no idea what I said.
Yeah, technical issues, but we don't have technical issues today.
Hooray.
If we're filming a video to get us to adopt a kid, we would get it right on the first try. This episode is We're the Howards, and it starts with Rome and Gina putting together a video.
I'd actually like to start with the bloopers on this episode.
Sure.
Danny wasn't in it.
That's a
big old goof on everybody's part.
Classic blooper. They forgot to put a Danny in it.
Boink boink sounds. Wah, wah.
Yeah, we got too much Theo.
There's a lot of Theo.
You know what? I wasn't mad at the amount of Theo, other than the ratio of no Danny to
the proportions.
Theo. Yeah, proportions were all off.
I did think this was arguably Theo's best acting episode.
He showed range.
Theo had
no, it is. I believe he was not whiny, so that's a good thing.
Theo showed some quiet inner darkness,
Yeah,
which
Theo,
I appreciate.
Yeah, baby. Theo got dark. But yeah, we can start with Rome and Gina.
I guess we can start. Yeah, start with
it's a lot about them.
It is. It's weird. They had, for I guess being a central organizing theme of the show, they had less scenes just them. You know, it's basically a few takes of them recording the video. Adoption's hard, and it's so dumb how...
Is that even a thing?
I
must
bet
be.
It is.
But as they were starting to record, I was just like, do you really have to do a friggin' self-tape audition for your future unborn baby? And it's like, yeah, probably. I have no idea. But it's incredibly dumb that you would have to, because I was watching this thinking, this is what I do in my life, working in showbiz. Like on my laptop, know how to do this?
Yeah, on my laptop, recording, putting my stand-up sets on, and editing them to send to late night shows to do stand-up sets, trying to get on James Corden or something. That's how people are getting babies.
And it's tricky to do. It's tricky to do if you know what you're doing too.
Yeah, and he's a film director, a commercial director in this. Yeah,
in my head, it's a commercial for them as parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he better nail it. That's his whole freaking gig. In my head, what I thought was going to happen before the end, where they just do a very sincere, and we know that sometimes life sucks video, which I think was very good.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, they'll probably end up cutting together the bloopers of them doing stuff, so it's there's the perfect video at the end, but they show them laughing together and blah blah blah.
Right.
If I had to do one of these, that's what it would have to be. Mm-hmm. It'd have to be me just being fuck, bleeping it out and be it's not perfect.
We're good people. We try our best, and that's what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we've got, basically they're filming this video as Sophie shows up in the background, and my first thought as she's eating her cereal back there in their video, I'm like, Sophie sucks.
I know. Sophie does suck this episode.
Get it together. She gets it together by the end, but, yeah.
I guess the moral of the story being that kids suck a lot of the time.
Yes.
So you got to be in it for those parts.
Yeah.
Which I suppose that's what they learn by the end.
Dave, did you have thoughts on the adoption video process? The Roman.
I was just thinking, even as early or as late as the early 2000s, I mean, the internet was a thing, yes, but I just feel like that wasn't part of the process. I just feel like everything's accelerated now with, social media technology. Back in like 2004, you didn't do a video.
You probably didn't have to VHS tape a video.
Right. Now that it exists, because they know that you can do it, they assume that you should do it.
Yeah,
like, you can get us a video.
Snapchat for a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok.
Yeah. TikTok for a kid. Do a lip sync video. Tell us why you're going to be the best parents. I wrote down just adoption is fake in all caps as a take on that process. So they're dealing with. I guess we can just run through Rome and Gina's whole arc. They're dealing with Sophie too, and Sophie invites. Asks if she can have a friend over. The friend is a girl, which they're psyched about. So they're not going to go make out. But what they do, and I do kind of respect this, is just two friends drink in the daytime.
Let's go.
That's what I'm talking about. Dave and I have been there. Jamie and I have been there. We've all been there together.
All three of us have been there. We've recorded a podcast that way.
We have recorded a podcast that way.
Yeah, it's a great time. But, maybe don't go so hard that you barf in your fake aunt and uncle's house at 6:30 in the p.m.
6:30 in the p.m. is an early barf to me. Dave, have you barfed from drinking?
I've only gotten sick once in my life from drinking.
God dang.
And when was that?
Okay, so we were playing not beer pong, we were playing, what's when you do a 9-inning game of beer bong. You do like a beer bong baseball game. So you have a batting order 1 through 9 8 innings.
Okay,
I have not done that.
So it was beer bong. We had a starting lineup of 9 players, 9 innings.
Wrigleyville goes hard.
So you have to do it 9 times. Shockingly, I was fine. We were beer bonging like Miller Lite or Bud Light. So it wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. It was a warm day. I got through it. Here's where I didn't get through it. Some guy decided to bring over a warm bottle of Jameson.
Oh, boy.
I never really had Jameson before, so warm whiskey shot, and that was it.
I'm drinking whiskey right now, and I've been a whiskey model for Bushmills. I've drank whiskey a lot of my life. I enjoy whiskey. Jameson has always gotten me close to barfing when I do a shot of it. It is not my shot.
Well, it's horrible. So, I live here in Chicago. I dabble in the service industry to make ends meet, and that's your de facto shot,
right?
So Jameson is not fantastic. I would prefer a Bushmills or a Powers. But warm Jameson, sometimes you're you want a shot, and that's what it is.
I'm with you. It's weird how Jameson became the default because same thing. I drink liquor almost exclusively, and I'm saying exclusively like we're including water and Gatorade and shit. I mostly drink liquor. But yeah, Jameson does the same thing to me. Jamie's barfed. I mean,
drop of a hat.
many times.
Sometimes I'm not even drunk.
Yep.
There was I had when I first started drinking. Started my drinking career in college. Never. I had a great tummy for drinking, and then listen. I'm not a doctor, but I had to have my gallbladder taken out, and after that happened, it's super,
you changed.
I changed. Yeah. My body changed, and it's sort of Russian roulette because sometimes I can drink a lot and it's fine. And then sometimes I can have 3 glasses of wine in a night, and I am hanging out in the turlet like Sophie.
Yeah, being a real soph about it.
Cruel, terrible thing to happen.
I haven't barfed many times, which I've been drunk for the better part of my life since I was 14. So that's a pretty good.
You're not a drink barfer.
Run. Not really. I mean, 5 to 10 times in my life, but the stats are still pretty in my favor in that time.
Fucking times 10.
Oh yeah, easy. But Sophie also has to play softball the next day, so she has to go. I mean, this is really actually a pretty good entry into what drinking is, because it's not even about how bad the day gets. It's about how bad the next day gets.
Yeah.
And I experienced that this week. I got drunk watching the Royal Rumble, and I had to go to an audition the next day, and I fucking tanked that shit. I was like the worst. It was a commercial audition for Jersey Mike's. It's probably the worst audition I've ever had. You gotta deal with being hungover.
Yeah, it's the next day that gets you.
It's great. I'll just also say very quickly, it's very crazy to be me. So and to go to a sandwich commercial and be like, I think I'm the worst person they saw do this today. I think it was just horrific. So just be careful about drinking. Sophie.
Yeah, moderation, you guys. Don't set your limit at gonna tank a Jersey Mike's commercial the next day.
Yeah, and then I feel like we can dive into what happened at the softball game.
Softball game's what got everyone together this week.
Yeah, that was the event that sort of unified people, and we can get into that in a second. And ultimately, at the end of the episode, Rome and Gina are they finish their video. Is how it comes full circle.
They finished their video. Their video is not them trying to be perfect. Now they're saying, like, we get that sometimes things will be tough. We'll be there for our kid in the good times, but especially the shitty times. They don't say shitty,
yeah.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Hey, we'd love a baby, even when it's fucked up sometimes. Hey.
Send one over.
Yeah.
And they have a nice heart-to-heart with Sophie, and they're all on good terms at the end. Mm-hmm. And Sophie does get on the base eventually at the game.
Yeah, she gets a hit at the towards the end. I feel like with the base, just talking about the softball game, should we go right into Gary, do you guys think? Where do you guys want to go?
Well, I guess we could knock out Catherine fairly easy. Delilah, pardon me.
Sure. I thought overarching note, I think there were more funny moments in this episode than there have been in most. Whoever wrote this episode, they had a couple of funny moments.
More silly moments, I would say, for sure.
Speaking of writing, this is totally random, but I went to the episode page just to see if it's going to be a rerun next week or the following week. And if you go to the episode list and it says written by, they really do a good job of having different writers each week.
Okay. Good rotation.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, there you go. Well, we got a silly one this week, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
We got to hear a French lady sing Who Let the Dogs Out, which I found off-putting. But I'm not, mad at it. Sure. I was just like, I don't... This kind of makes me scrunch up in my seat. The whole... Delilah is sleep training Charlie, which means, leaving her alone when she's crying and then, keeping her up at other times so that she's learns how to sleep without being a jerk about it and waking up her mom. And is purposely staying away from Sophie so that Sophie, I guess, doesn't get to act out and get Delilah's attention. Yeah,
so she can make it... Right. You have to let the person come back to you.
Right.
Kind of.
At this point, it's up to Sophie to come home, and Delilah shouldn't, go to her. And at some point, Gina has to tell Delilah that in a nice way. And then Delilah gives her Sophie's favorite soup recipe for Gina to make for her.
I didn't even realize what the recipe was. I couldn't tell if it was a recipe or just a brand of ice cream or what was happening. But
it's a soup, and I would bet $1 million that it's French onion because that is what Delilah is.
We got a French. Yeah, totally. I thought you're very strong. I thought that was played kind of calmly funny when Gina was slamming the door shut.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was good.
Yeah. Yeah, strong and just a quick little, I do, power Pilates twice a week. I'm probably addicted. Anyway, back to your daughter thing. I was like, that's pretty...
Yeah, that was interesting writing.
That was
Dave, do you have handy who wrote this week's episode? If you...
I actually do, and there's been 11 different writers on just season 2 alone.
Well, this is the 11th episode, so yeah.
Yeah, hold on, my computer's slow. Tonight's episode was Lauren Bachellis and Christopher Lucci. I'm sorry if I mispronounced.
Either way, we're giving them more of a shout out than most places.
Chris.
Yeah, nice job, guys. Yeah. Also, Delilah said when she was talking to Maggie about Maggie's weird kiss with her brother's heart.
There's a Maggie Delilah heart to heart.
She said, the last guy I kissed, I got pregnant. And I thought it was like, that's funny.
It is funny. I was also like, ugh.
Don't out weird my kiss.
Yeah. Maggie's just like, I kissed Eric, but like a kiss doesn't mean anything, right? Which, I mean, last episode we established that a kiss does mean something.
Tiebreaker
Danny
said
so.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then Delilah says that line, which is funny. But again, it's sort of like the let the dogs out, where I'm like, ugh. If I was there in person, I'd be like, I don't know, too soon, is it?
I think I was giving Delilah more points this episode than you were, but
yeah.
I appreciate our disagreement there. Yeah. Dave, any Delilah thoughts throughout this episode?
I have to say it was one of the more enjoyable ones of her character in the 2 seasons, I would say.
I thought she was less off-putting than she's been a lot of the time recently. I mean, I'll give you the dogs out off-putting
but
credit.
that's not a character thing. It's just that moment was off-putting.
Yes,
I think character-wise she made good decisions this episode.
Yeah, and they gave her like mom points. She sort of was. You got to see that. Oh, this actually is an experienced mother. You know, the way she's talking about stuff. I thought that was played well. But yeah, so that's nice.
Right. You find out she is. It's like, oh, she is a good mom.
Well, and then in the second scene, I just wrote Delilah and crying baby equals she deserves it because of what she's done. But I mean, she's I feel like, you know, she's sort of making amends. Like, I feel like she's getting punished, you know, with Sophie moving out and stuff. So, you know, things are working out.
Totally. We talked about that a little bit last episode. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the Sophie thing for sure. The sleep training, it seems like she did it in like a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sleep training. Yeah,
I think that worked out just fine for Delilah.
Wonderful.
Right, but she is definitely earning her other kid back. So, yeah. So then we can.
It's pretty much Delilah.
That's pretty much them. We want to go.
Eddie,
yeah.
Eddie Catherine.
We can knock out Eddie Catherine. Eddie's at his music producer's place. I guess he's not
his
signed
agent
currently.
or label guy.
I can't. Yeah, his label. He's at his label, which he's, I guess, not currently signed to. I truly cannot keep track.
Pinnacle Music Group.
What's that?
Pinnacle Music Group. So I guess it is a label.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like a label thing. Good. Dave's on the research today.
Are you sure the technical term isn't music guy place?
Yeah,
like I said.
Music guy place. I'll say this as someone who has an album and a record label. I don't understand. Braggy. Well, it was also #1 in the country, so if we're going to do that. But I don't understand what any of those things are. Like, I feel like all that, when you talk about a band, you're like, okay, well, they have an agent, they have a manager, they have a record label.
Right.
Who the fuck are these people, and why, who's doing what? For me, the record label publicized the thing, like my album. Mm-hmm. So they also fronted the money for the actual recording of it.
That's good.
And then and then we basically split the profits. So I guess that's the so
label.
I think that's who. Yeah, that's the label.
That's
so I think that's who Eddie's talking to.
They put up there like the producers. They put up the money.
Basically.
Right, and put you on the label, and hopefully you make them more money than they put up.
Right. Yeah, they basically put up money up front and then take a bet that you're going to make them money back.
Well, what I can tell you about Eddie's music guy, which is what I'm going to call him, Trevor, he is in a lot of Hallmark movies.
Whoa!
He often plays either the friend of the love interest or the guy that the girl is dating at the beginning, and then when she goes on her magical trip to a small town where she gets snowed in, she realizes that is not the guy for her, and then goes with the other guy that she got snowed in with.
He's frequently not the guy.
He's usually not the guy.
What a weird level of handsome to be.
Isn't it?
Yeah, where the audience...
Definitely not gross.
Right.
But also in Hallmark movies, a lot of time the main love interest is also gross. But but in like sort of a cardboard cutout way where you're like, I mean, I guess he's like, quotes, handsome, but weird in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Like soap opera handsome, where it's like a little something's off.
It's interesting. I mean, good for this guy. He's getting a lot of roles.
You're not in the movies.
Right, sure. But you're getting a lot of these. I'll tell you what.
It's a good gig. If I could do friggin' 20 of those movies a year? Hell yeah.
I'll
play the ugliest friend you got.
I feel like I've had a pretty decent showbiz run. I'm talking about just tanking Jersey Mike's commercial auditions. So fuck yeah, I'm going to take a Hallmark
Trevor.
anything. Being the guy who someone dumps in a Hallmark movie and everyone's fucking psyched about it because they didn't want them to be grossed up by me. Whoa, I'm into that.
And by the way, often those are the best actors in the movie.
Dave, who are you in a Hallmark movie if you're casting yourself?
Well, I was going to say I'm holding out for ABC Family.
That's a perfect answer. He's not a Hallmark guy. He's an ABC Fam. Freeform.
He's a freeform guy.
Yeah.
So. No, but there's no question. The friend who likes a girl who has a boyfriend and just doesn't get her. That's me. So I'm not the happy ending.
But you know what? Because everybody gets a happy ending in these things. If you would slum it in Hallmarkville at least, I don't know what's happening on Freeform, but you would like a girl and not get her, and then you would maybe realize, like, I don't know, maybe I was coming on a little strong, and then you know who's interested? The main girl's best friend, who's also very cute. And then you guys, like, look at each other across a dance, and it's like, yeah, they're going to get married.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
So you're fine. Yeah,
you're
good to go.
So anyway, Eddie, with the label person,
what were we
he gets blown off by Trevor, who gets dumped in all the Hallmark movies, and but he's talking to a girl who
Dakota, who gets snarky when she's nervous, aka she's a jerk face.
Yeah, to me, does not read super true. Basically, someone who acts like she does to another artist in a setting like this, it comes off extremely amateur or particularly asshole. Like, this is not a typical professional. Like, if I was in a talent agency's office and another stand-up comic was there, if they were asking me, where would I know you from? Like that, I'd be like, oh, you're a hack. Like, you're not in the business, really.
I think amateur is a great word for it.
It's very amateur.
She's trying to, like, be bigger than she is. She's fluffing up her feathers, and it's like, bro, just hang out, dude.
Just being, just busting balls in general. Yeah. Hey, everybody, quit it. This is a thing like comedy club owners do too. Sometimes, like I'll go.
That I don't like.
Well, and it's crazy because I go and I'm headlining their club, and they're like, "Oh, what's your name again?" I'm like, "You fucking hired. You're paying me the most money. It's like
your mistake if you don't like it."
Exactly. If you're not acting like I'm worth anything. I know it's a joke, but there's also a disease comedy club owners have where they think they're funny because they're just around funny people, and it's like, then your business is a sham. If I'm a problem, it's like I'm the main one you hired here.
Then how dumb are you for thinking that I was going to make you money tonight?
Yeah, and it's just just ball busting in general is just like such a hack. Like, you're not funny, so you're just trying to be mean, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like I think they tried to make it seem like Eddie was like kind of giving it back to her. They were like kind of playing along,
and
but
he did,
but it just there was sort of no. He was doing it with a smile, and she sort of wasn't. It was like, I don't. Yeah. It seemed weird, and I'm sure they're setting up that, like, I mean, as we find out later, she's quote a problem for Trevor, so he wants Eddie to like deal with her. So I guess that's like her personality they're trying to get across.
Yeah, and I do think that I think that could be good writing and acting because Eddie is the veteran in the business, and so he is acting like who gives a shit.
That's true.
And
right,
so
he's trying.
It's more like, yeah, well, who cares? That is more someone who's been in it, and the other one's just trying too hard, so that makes sense. I think.
That's true. I'll buy that.
But yeah, boo on ball busting. I thought it was just an interesting thing to talk about. I mean, one of the reasons we started this podcast is because we're three people in our mid-30s who are just like depressed. And it's like, well, this show seems good for that. When we see their friend jumps off a building and they're all sad, sign me up. This basically is highlighting a thing where you get to a certain point in your career and your career isn't what you thought it would be when you were 20. And so Eddie's having to sort of figure that out. And I think that's an interesting thing to explore.
And he's been higher up on the food chain than he is currently.
Yeah.
Which is even I mean, I don't know if it's worse, but it's a different perspective than if you're still trying to make it. But it's like, I did sort of, or I was on my way to making it, and now I'm back down a few pegs, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, and
like, now what?
And I think all of us on this podcast have had that in our own careers. You know, we've all had it where it like we had a surprise pop, and then it was better, and then it was worse, and you know,
been making great money and working for great shows, and then you're temping and trying to, you know, unload all the ceviche on your tray at a catering job, and it's just like, man.
This is Jamie's process, and then now Jamie's back on another very large show.
Yeah.
Working a very good job.
And then eventually, you know, I'll be back on that ceviche tray.
Jamie.
Yes.
Put it this way. I legitimately, in 2018, it was April 2018, I was serving the president of Vienna hot dogs. Like, serving, like, you know, not that there's anything wrong with serving, but, like,
of course.
That's what I was.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think at the same time, 2018, I was the summer of 2018 was probably my, like, most unemployed, like, temping, like, doing the most, basically, like, my whole thing was, like, I know I'm going to get a gig. I feel like I'm going to get a catering gig that's, like, the party of, like, a company, like an entertainment company where people I know
where
work.
people know you and are just like, what are you up to lately? And,
right, and I'm going to be like, I'm up to, do you want any egg rolls that I am passing around this place?
And now you're working for the biggest radio show in the world. So
Says who?
things can get, you know, can go up and down. So, and it's interesting that that's something we're exploring with Eddie now, where he doesn't know if he wants to be a producer for some, as he says, millennial. And David Giantoli might be a millennial, the actor who's, you know, I'm a millennial, you know.
Yeah, they made the span of millennials too big.
Yeah, I think that's possible, but
our friend, I just said this to someone today, we can cut this out, but our friend Brett White, who works for Decider, wrote an article about how there's an in-between generation of people who watch Nick at Night. And that's like its separate thing, and I think that's very much true. Because if you have those references from the 50s and also the 90s, like that's a whole different...
It's a different world.
Set of people.
Yeah. Yeah, you could definitely chop it up
I
more.
consider myself Nick at Night generation. That's all I'm saying.
Fair. Any Eddie thoughts, Dave?
I just have a few. First of all, finally, we have a Redfern's reference for the first time in several episodes.
True that.
And then also, I love Eddie, but Be My Katie. What a bad song.
I know! I forgot about it.
So bad.
Have you heard of Be My Katie? She's like,
Yeah, that's actually the first time I barfed. I heard about Sophie's storyline.
And I threw up. I did enjoy when, after... Theo starts acting out, and it's like he's just on a website Googling, like, aggression in children, like, articles, and it's just like, and also that just ends up going nowhere, and of course it doesn't. It's like, Eddie, you're not going to figure it out.
No, but I've done the same thing, just Googling something way too big.
Oh, of course I
Google.
have.
That's good. I did a show for the National School of the Blind once, and I got there and I did realize I didn't know how to tell the people I was there, and because no one could see me. Usually when they book you for a show, you walk in, they're like, it's you, and so I literally Googled how do blind people find each other. Google not helpful, turns out. So that's my deal. And then at the end of the episode, basically, it seems like Eddie is transitioning into this job. They talk to Theo about it, and sort of they're being more honest with Theo over the last couple episodes, just trying to get all on the same page about it.
Turns out Theo knows everything.
Theo's always listening. He's in the walls.
Oh my God, that was the best. I mean, Theo, again, he's back on his bullshit in a good way now. Theo fucks with bullying.
There we go. Yeah. He'll shove someone he's friends with, Augie.
It was freaking great. We got, I guess Catherine stuff, like, Carter, her assistant, is back for about 2 seconds. And that guy's real name is Sam Pancake, correct?
Oh, I do not know. I was just excited he was on the show. Is that his name in real life?
I'm pretty sure. And if your name is Sam
He just
Pancake,
had a viral thing.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
What is...
He was on, I think it was a Pod Save America live thing in London, and he had like a very touching thing. If that's Sam Pancake.
Hold on, I'm Googling
Anyway,
it now.
look that up, Jamie. But basically, yeah, so...
Yes, that's him. And I was just going to say, when that's your name, I mean, you shouldn't be Carter in this show. You should just be Sam Pancake in everything you're in. Like, I don't know why people would pass up that opportunity. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know
it's
thing.
great. So, anyway... and then Catherine, I did write that Catherine telling Eddie that, you've always wanted to make great music. That's been your goal, so maybe this is how you can do it. And that's something, everyone deals with that in your career at some point, unless literally all of your dreams come true. You have to figure out the nugget of why you do what you do, and then how do you apply that to the world. And so maybe it's a way he can do that, but it's not the original way he thought it would happen. And then and she said that, the song, I forget the title of the song, but the one Unexpected. She, Catherine said when that song was on the radio, I didn't care that it wasn't your voice. I cared that it was your words. And I was like, who's really psyched about writing that line? The writer of this episode, who you don't see, but is like, you know what? Writing's pretty cool too.
I mean, when you think about it, the person that wrote all the stuff is really the hero. Also, I did enjoy that Catherine basically seduced Eddie into being cool with this job. Yeah. She was saying all these words as she's like walking slowly towards him, and then eventually she's like, so maybe this will be great. And then she like, kisses him. It's like, all right, damn, hey, Catherine.
Eddie, how about you get a fucking job?
Is this what you do in court? Christ.
By the way,
very effective.
I would be that guy if I was able to write a TV show to let every Tom, Dick, and Harry know that I wrote that episode.
100%. Yeah. Yes. There's going to be a tertiary character named Dave Miller in that episode. We're going to drop him in. All right. So Eddie, Catherine, Theo rapped. We said Theo, good acting.
He does say, like, he has a sit down with Maggie. Maggie helps figure out what's wrong with Theo. And he basically says, like, they think I don't hear them, but I hear everything. And so we find out that basically Theo has heard every conversation that they've ever said, and therefore must know when they try to explain to him in a weird way, like when they lie to him about what the truth is, like he knows. No wonder he's so weird. He's keeping all these secrets inside of him.
He's dealing with multiple realities.
No wonder he pushed Augie. What the hell? And he was... he keeps breaking his guitar strings because he's twisting them like a psychopath.
Yeah, he just likes the feel of tightening.
But we're in a good place now. Yeah. Theo could talk.
Also, the up-and-coming artist that Eddie is going to work with, The Problem, I assume that real actress's name is Anna Akana. Because the song towards the end of the episode was Need You Now. Yes, Anaconda. Anna Akana.
Okay.
Yeah, Need You Now was the song that played toward the end. That was her song. So I always try to point those things out. Let's get into basically really mainly Gary, but Gary, Maggie, Eric?
Hell yeah.
Dave, you want to lead us into this stuff?
Gary's pissed.
For sure. So I was thinking, like, there's no question that Gary kind of was the one that broke up with Maggie. But, looking back at some of her behavior, and understandably so, she was just getting healthy, just finding herself, had that potential fellowship. The timing was just so bad.
It was just messy. So, yeah.
Say that again?
It's just messy.
It was just messy. Yeah. So no one's at fault here. I do think, like, Gary is acting like an a-hole. At the same time, though, like, lost his job, a good portion of which had to deal with him, being off work to help Maggie.
Yeah.
If he wanted
and all the friends.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, he kind of aggressive to, like, a-hole drivers and stuff and, like, drinking during the day. Everything just came to head. It does seem like he's a real a-hole, but I don't know. He's still showing up to the softball game. I don't know. So the whole fight thing, like, he was defending Rome, like, it's just all these things. It's just, everything came to a head. So I feel bad.
Right. I do think, so it begins, I wrote Gary fucks ... with a shirt because he in the first scene basically he's waking up. Is that the teacher that he hooks up with?
I thought the same thing. I don't think that's.
I don't think it was the teacher. I think it's
just
someone else.
So, but he woke up. So it seems like he's waking up hungover post sex, but he's in like a thick red T-shirt, and to me, that's not how you wake up after boning for the most part.
I mean, I feel like he's supposed to. I mean, the fact is, like, his phone isn't charged. He can barely function. People think he's homeless. It's supposed to be like it was a sloppy night.
Just sloppy,
so maybe
rock
he
bottom.
just didn't make it to getting the shirt off.
Sure, and he gets to the coffee shop, and of course Eric is there, and whatever he's antagonistic towards Eric as usual. Yada yada.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. We find out this is maybe the first time that an excessively nosy service professional, because the service has, this is something we've pointed out for so long on this podcast, that all the service professionals in the show are incredibly nosy and typically assholes.
Yeah.
But this one was extremely nosy but helpful because he went deep on the Google page search and found that Eric is involved in a wrongful death suit with his ex. So that's what is shown to Gary. Gary confronts him about it, and then Gary's really playing detective. He sees Max is the name on the coffee cup, and then they highlight that, and he doesn't say anything about it in the moment, but then he leaves. Does anyone know what the Max connection is yet? Or
Yeah, I do, because if you remember early in the episode when Gary goes to the coffee shop, he sees an MA on the coffee cup. He thinks Eric is bringing it to Maggie.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Gotcha.
Yes, and then he that's why he sort of backs off at the music shop, because he's like, oh, it's for this guy, it's for Max.
Right.
So he wasn't going to immediately hang out with Maggie in that moment. And at the end of the episode, we see Eric ignore a call from Maggie. So what's up with that?
What's up with that?
What's up with that? What's up?
Hell yeah.
I did think so. When he gets to the softball game, he is kind of just. He's sort of an over-the-top grump about being a rock-bottom guy.
Yeah.
I think typically when you're that depressed, it's a less is more situation. But we're in television, I get it.
Right. He's like actually mean to Rome.
Yeah. The fact that Rome turns the camera to him, he's like, just gets out of there. It seemed like Rome let him know that he was doing stuff for his video. For the adoption,
he knew that. Yeah,
yeah. So
because they made a very strong point of pointing out that Rome is dressed nice. And he's like, oh, it's for your video that you're doing. Blah blah blah.
Jamie caught what they alluded to later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I literally wrote down that, which it's like, and then they basically said it. But I was like, oh, they made a point of that because just in case anybody thought it'd be fine to assault him if he was in a hoodie, and then. And literally, he's like, if I showed up in a hoodie, then it would be a problem. And it's like,
and it's something people of color have to think about a lot, like all the time. And and that I think was an interesting story. That's an interesting beat to play because I'm a white guy. Not only am I a white guy, also Dave and I are both white guys who grew up very poor. So there's a lot of privilege we haven't experienced at all, but. I'm a white guy who reads like a white guy in charge too. Like
got that hair part.
Yeah, and I just walk places with purpose. So I get away with stuff. I accidentally stole limes and avocados from a grocery store. No one gives a shit. I went in between the subway cars, and a cop stopped me. And then when I basically was like, this doesn't matter, he apologized to me for stopping me.
Yeah, that was pretty egregious.
Yeah.
White privilege.
Because I talked about that on the stand-up stage, and a friend of mine who's black said, I did the same thing. I got arrested. And I was like, yeah, I bet. And so that's the kind of thing that Rome is talking about here. I do think Gary, if he wasn't a mess, just a wild tornado otherwise, I think this would be super defensible. Where he did come to his Rome's defense, that is being a good friend.
Right. I think non-crazy spiraling Gary may have tried at first to make that other guy seem like feel bad,
right?
As opposed to going right to punching. Yeah, he probably would have made him feel small instead, which is always a good move. But yeah, I mean, he's trying. He was trying to do a good thing, and punching a Nazi never
Yeah, and the guy had a real Nazi look.
He had a real Nazi. They really over-Nazi'd it with that guy.
Oh, that guy was so Nazi. Also, that was minutes after he found out about Eric and Maggie. He didn't find out they kissed, but, like, remembered that he was sitting down in the rafters. So he was extra.
Yes, oh, yeah, because Delilah's a bad liar.
Yeah, Delilah's a bad liar. She can get away with cheating for a long time, but besides that, she's a rough liar.
So he knows that they're perhaps romantically involved.
Right.
So he's extra super pissed and goes for a walk about it. It was kind of crazy that it's like, I mean, there was a lot of other stuff going on, and Rome had a specific other storyline. It was crazy that this just sort of happened in the middle, and then there was, like, nothing else. Like the whole, like, you know, racism lesson that Gary gets in the back of the cop car, where Rome is, like, very justifiably upset because it's like he's thinking, I'm going to have an arrest on my record and I'm trying to adopt a kid. And I didn't do anything.
Also, how is it nightfall? It was bright and sunny. It took 2 hours to get there.
Oh, my God, you're right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Apparently hours and hours when it seemed like they were taken away pretty immediately. Yeah, I mean, I do think there's something to, I think the amount of time spent on that incident is probably, I think it makes sense in the way that, and I don't even know if they thought this much about it, but that Rome can't be talking about this all the time because it is every minute of his life. And part of his point there is, y'all don't think about it. And this is how I go through grocery stores, whatever. If I talked about this all the time, we'd never talk about anything else. So we just have to pretend like it's fine. So I thought that was good that they did that. And Rome went a little hard at the end. You're fucking with my life, basically, now, where Gary was meaning well, but he hadn't been doing well across the board lately. So I get when you have a friend in trouble like that, who's trouble to themselves and trouble to everyone else, and I think we've all had very close friends who are spiraling like that. That's the other big main theme I wrote down about this episode, where how do you deal with that person? How tough love do you get? How coddling do you get? And I understand Rome basically hitting volume up on the stuff for a second, being like, you're fucking with my life. I don't care if you want to fuck up your own stuff, okay, but get it together for the sake of not ruining your friends' lives.
Yeah, I've been friendly, Rome, up until now, supporting you, but now it's like, now you need to get your shit together or don't hang out with me.
Yeah. Also, when he was coming, when they took Rome out of the cop car, and then Gary said, "What about me, Gary? You did the punch."
I know. I didn't understand
why is Rome in there in the first place.
I didn't know why he was in the car in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could still be the good guy. You punched a Nazi. We are pro punching Nazis on this show, but you know why you're there. So that shouldn't be a surprise. And then he goes and cut me off if you guys have anything you want in here before I get to this. But when he's getting helped out of the prison, it's Catherine, who is the lawyer he knows, and then Maggie's there. And I get being basically thinking, oh, cool, you brought the most awkward person I could have here. But then when he says, I saved your life, okay, let's pull the reins back on I saved your life.
Yeah, that's a pretty...
I think doctors were involved, you know.
Yeah, that's a classic pushing away. You're here and I don't want you to be here, so I guess I'll just say the worst thing I can possibly think of to say to you. But it's like when they turned the corner and Maggie was there, I feel like she was giving him like such a like angry girlfriend look. And it's like, girl, like you are not together right now.
You got to open up soft there.
And it was sort of the opposite of the Delilah thing where it's like, if she was going to help Catherine, that's one thing, but so she doesn't have to pick up like jail Gary by herself. But it's like, I'm here to support Gary. It's like, he doesn't want to see you, and he just got out of jail. This is not going to be a good time. You cannot be surprised that he's acting out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Catherine gets real harsh and says he can get his own ride home.
Mm-hmm. Sends him home, and that's it. I mean, do you have any feelings on dealing with a friend like this, Dave?
Well, I think in this particular case, well, yes, I do have buddies who, are spiraling. But in this particular case, it's almost like, Gary's actions haven't been great, sleeping around, drinking, whatever. But his words, he can be harsh with words. And obviously the line about saving, I just feel like there's always like one line per episode where Gary just goes above and beyond to like be an a-hole.
I think that's a great point. That's because in some ways that counts more than the rest. When it's with your really good friends, you know, you can be someone who's a wild card, throws a punch, you know, almost got shot a week ago and is back on his bullshit. But then it is the words there. Yeah, I think that's a great point about Gary and the words. The words, you know, that's... If I said something very mean to one of my best friends, that would be way worse than me punching someone in front of them. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're telling them that you want them gone, basically.
Yeah. All right. Any other Gary things before we Maggie Eric to end?
No. Just at the end, we have Gary throwing out all of Maggie's stuff from his apartment.
Yeah.
Except the I'm in? Yes. The I'm in Post-it. Which he looks at in a reflective manner, and then that's it. So,
yeah, the I'm in meaning I'm going to try to live, basically. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one thing he doesn't throw out. That's good. Yeah, Maggie she's writing a paper. I don't care too much about this. This is she's writing a paper about loss, about surviving after loss.
Surviving life after loss, an article.
Yes, and I don't know. There's a couple thoughts there, but it's pretty basic. There's nothing.
No, she didn't say anything that is groundbreaking.
No, it's a classic.
that I heard. I'm sure it's in there.
Welcome
in
Matt platitudes kind of stuff, like I said last week about
yes.
the stuff that Eddie just says all the time.
She's asking people for advice about it.
Yeah. So but she and she's talking to Delilah about it. I went to kiss him and it got weird and I think I scared him off. It's like, well, that's cool. It's your brother's heart as far as you know. So maybe, you know, that's fine. And then I just wrote about Eric. So we got the one revelation about Eric. Well, a couple.
No scar.
And then also the thing with his wife and the wrongful death suit.
Maybe he killed his fiancée.
But then I got, I don't know if worried's the right word, but I thought, are we going to swerve Eric to being okay?
Oh, I think we're definitely going to swerve Eric to being
Eric
okay.
needs to be a piece of shit, otherwise I'm going to be furious.
Yeah, there's going to be some reason that he's doing this. Although I will say that my conspiracy theory after this episode is that Eric helped Maggie's brother fake his own death.
Oh, hell yeah. Now I'm in.
That's incredible.
That's good. Max is her brother.
Holy shit. Max is her brother.
That's great.
That's why we've never seen Max before. He hides him in the basement usually.
Do you have theories about Eric, Dave?
I really don't. I was going to actually defer to Jamie, and she already gave her spiel. I mean, I'm sick of hearing about the damn scar. I know, I believe he's going to end up being a bad guy.
I hope you're right.
Me too.
Well, and the reason why I say that, okay, so he's moving. First of all, you know, as we see in the scene, he's moving. We know he's a liar about the heart. He's moving. You know, when I heard about this girlfriend thing, you know, when we first met him, I thought something was off. I don't know. I think he will end up being a bad guy. But then why was the mom here? So there's just, I don't really have a theory yet. I think they will make him to be a bad guy.
I will say I don't. You know, I can't predict the specifics, so that's good.
Yeah.
You know, it's tricky.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, the heart thing, because it feels like they're trending him towards he's actually okay and been okay the whole time. We were over foreshadowing the creepy angle, but the heart thing is, I mean, there's no scar there, so that seems like a tough one to explain.
The twist is he had the best plastic surgeon in the world.
Yeah, well, and then but you know. Maybe the mom isn't such a bad... Okay, the mom has acted bad. We've seen on...
Yeah.
The mom is acting... But, like, if she's not in the know, how does that even make sense? Like, you know, maybe the mom is, like, the worst of them all and, like, was in on this. But I'm thinking that's not the case. So, obviously, the mom does think he has the heart.
Yeah. Yeah, they all definitely do.
She's just a horrible person, like a bigger heel, you know?
Yeah. I hope it's... Oh, shit. This is what's going to happen.
Uh-oh.
I have a prediction that he somehow knew the guy who had the heart, and the guy with the brother's heart died. And then he didn't want them to be sad and to know that the brother's heart is no longer around. And then so he tried to cover up to help them to say, no, your brother's heart did some good because it actually didn't. It was it was rejected because of its problems or something. His
that
heart
makes complete sense. I feel like with this show, something's got to be weird.
yeah. I mean, I preferred Jamie's theory.
Right. He got the. I mean, that's the one it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he got those emails because he was friends with the guy. Maybe the guy who had the heart was banging his fiance. Who knows?
Or maybe he was the one that persuaded John Dixon to jump. I don't know.
I pushed John Dixon. Man, our show. If our show has merch, we just start an Etsy shop where we sell a shirt that says "I pushed John Dixon."
I am out. I'm out.
Follow us at A Million Little Podcast on Instagram, at A Million Podcast on Twitter. Do we have any other thoughts before we bounce?
No, that was my big conspiracy theory there at
it's
the
a good
end.
one. It's a good one. Great. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back next week as well. Dave, do you happen to know how many episodes are in this season? In this half of the season? If you don't, do not sweat.
Yeah, the only thing I know for sure is the next 2 weeks, they're fresh episodes, not reruns.
Okay, cool. All right, so we will be back here with new episodes this quickly after the delay of last week. We'll be back, relatively quick. Who may or not. Who gives a shit? We're here now. Let's live in the moment.
Roll with it, kids.
Yeah, A Million Little Podcasts. Thanks for listening, everybody.
A Million Little Bye.